Yo, what is up, everyone? I'm outside, which is wild for me. I'm never outside. Josie just texted me. Let's see what Josie said. Where is youth group? Is it Venture Ministries or Venture Student Ministries? I should know this. I just sent her a link to the YouTube channel. But hello, everyone. Good to see you guys. Katie, long time no see, as in like 2 hours. Josie is here now. Oh, that's going to be really loud. Can you guys hear me over that? I don't know how loud that is for you. My AC unit just came on. There it is. This is almost like I have a backyard and live in a real house, except that I don't, and I live in an apartment. But yeah, good to see you guys. It is the nicest day ever outside right now, which is why I'm doing this outside instead of inside like I normally would. Ran into Katie over at Smith Park a couple hours ago. You guys were walking a dog that is not your own, which is incredible. I wish I loved a dog that was not my own enough to walk it, but I don't. Maybe Dave's dog. I do really love Dave's dog. All right. Question for the group. How sunburned is everyone? Because I got like pretty sunburned this week. Not horrifically, but pretty sunburned. Anybody else get sunburned this week? Why do you got a mason jar? Bro, they're so nice. These are perfect water glasses. I got a package of these when Pack-a-Tans was going out of business. If you guys remember Pack-a-Tans. Katie, it was too hot for me, but now it's like so nice out. Let's see. Hold up. It's 77 out. This is perfect. I got shade. It's really the sun, Katie, that kills me. But no. So I'm going to go through the questions in order. First off, Kevin. I got a packet of mason jars, a Pack-a-Tans for like $5 when they were going out of business. It had like 20 mason jars in it. And they're the cups that I use now. I use mason jars, and I use mugs. And these are great. They're phenomenal cups. Try it sometime. Next question. Katie, I already covered that. It's not too hot for me as long as I'm not in the sun. Drew, by worst of your career, Drew, do you mean baseball career? Like, is it the worst burn of your baseball career? If so, like, I mean, I believe that, but I almost want to see pictures. It's that bad. And Katie says, oh my goodness, Sam, I am so sunburned. Like, horribly. My whole head was peeling. I don't know if any of you guys saw me toward the end of last week, like Thursday and Friday. Like, my whole head was just like a snake molting its skin. It was so gross. Oh, it was awful. Kevin says, worst summer you ever got was at Zumbizi Bay. Hard to read out here because the light's like hitting my laptop like right there, right where chat is. So that's kind of annoying. I'm gonna move my laptop over here. Now I can see it. See, that's the thing. So Kevin references a major problem that I have, which is putting on sunscreen and then still burning. Which is just one of the worst parts of being me. Worst part of your human career. Kevin, yes, I put sunscreen on my head. Now, that day I did not. I was helping my sister move, and I was inside most of the day. Most of my day was carrying boxes inside. I had a hat in the car, but I was like, oh, I won't need it because I'm not going to be outside that much. And then somehow I was outside that much. It was so bad. I'm kind of sad that, like, none of you guys saw it. Because it was bad. Like, it was really bad. Kevin says, Sam, copy the link. What link? What link, Kevin? It's worth it, he says. What link? Did you send me something on Discord, Kevin? If so, I have not. I'm bad about checking Discord messages. The one you sent. Did you send it on Discord? I bet that means you sent it on Discord. I'm really bad about checking Discord messages. Kevin, what link are you talking about? To be honest, Kevin, I don't see a link. You said that, send it again. I don't see it. Anywho, it is so nice out right now. I hope you guys can hear me. I think you guys said you can. My AC unit was not on all day, and then I walk out here and it's like, grr. Gosh darn it, AC unit. But yeah, I hope you guys are doing really well right now. We are kind of coming to the end of quarantine stuff. A couple of our life groups, the high school guys life group, met in person last week. So if you are a guy and you are in high school now, so like if you, I think Kevin and Evan both just finished eighth grade. Eighth is a hard word to say just now for some reason. This is incredible. Oh my gosh. Kevin, this is amazing. I honestly might buy this. That's incredible, Kevin. Drew. I said Evan, I meant Drew. Yes. So Drew and Kevin, you guys are in high school now, which means you can come to High School Guys Life Group. If you remind me, I'll add you to our Google Hangout. High School Guys Life Group have the meeting Thursday nights at Mingo Park over like there. We meet in one of the shelter houses. We can spread out pretty well, so we're still social distancing, but also like in person and outside. It's so nice. So if you guys, now that you're in high school and you're welcome to join, so Kevin and Drew and also Evan, because you've been in high school the whole time but never came because you make me sad. You three should start coming. It's a good time. Joe and I lead that together. I assume you guys know Joe. We started coming like not too long before quarantine. He was at Collide and all that. We love Joe. We're actually kind of about to be starting some new stuff like this week, so it'd be a great time to join. Thursday nights, 6:30 to 8 at Mingo in one of the shelter houses. And usually, Josie just texted to me also. And usually, Joe and I are there a little early to skate for a little bit. So either way, come by. 6:30, Mingo Park, if you're a high school guy. Drew, is Joe still broken? Yes and no. So his like major injury is done and he's like back to like activity. But then him and I were at the Mingo skate park 4 or 5 days ago. And he hit a ramp and fell and bounced off of his knee. It was insanity. I've never seen a human being bounce on their knee before. Like his whole weight, like he's in the board. This kid like stepped back in front of him, like was not paying attention. Like the kid wasn't trying to hurt Joe, just like wasn't paying attention, and like stepped back in front of Joe. So he like tried to swerve to avoid him. He kind of lost his balance, fell off this way, landed on his knee and bounced. Like his whole body on his knee and just said, "Oof." It was nutty, absolutely nutty. But he's fine now. Like his knee like pretty scratched up, but nothing internal, which is nice. Wow. This is incredible, Kevin. This is really incredible. It wasn't $60. I'd probably buy that. Sorry I'm drinking so much water. I'm very thirsty right now. Yes, he put in his Broken Knee playlist. I love that you guys know about that. Yes, Joe has an album on his phone. If you don't know about it, it's called My Poor Knees. Oh, Joe's here right now. He was here like an hour ago and then left to go have dinner with some friends of his. But it's called My Poor Knees, and it's just every time he falls longboarding or skateboarding and hurts his knees, he posts a picture in there, and it's incredible. Also, now that it's summer out and it's nice out, if any of you guys longboard or skateboard, let me know. Joe and I go pretty much every day. Sammy and Emma both just got longboards. The four of us have been going a lot. We have a couple of friends. I think Ryan said he wants to get one. So I don't know if you guys know Grace Williams. She's a high school in the youth group. She goes longboarding a bunch. So we've been going longboarding a lot. So if you guys have a longboard or want to learn to longboard, let me know, and you can always come with us. There's a lot of good places to go in Delaware, and a lot of better places to go in Dublin. Anyway, I am sure, I want to kind of get open with this a little bit. I am sure that you guys are, to some extent, aware of what has been going on in the world. I was joking with a couple buddies of mine about this last week that hey Aiden, what's up, buddy? That I don't know how, hey, the AC turned off. That's awesome. I don't know how historians talk about 2020. 2020 has been a weird year, right? We had at the start of the year, if you guys remember, there was talk of like nuclear war with North Korea. Like, do you guys remember that? That was this year. Then the continent of Australia was on fire. And then Kobe Bryant died. And then I remember when Kobe Bryant died, like you guys might be like a little bit young where like you probably like didn't grow up necessarily watching Kobe Bryant. I mean, he retired. Most of you probably would have been like in like first to third grade when he retired, maybe a little bit younger. But I mean, I grew up watching Kobe Bryant, right? Like I'm a big NBA guy. I love basketball. So I grew up watching Kobe Bryant. I remember while I always rooted against him, right? I'm not a Western Conference guy, so I always rooted against Kobe Bryant, right? But I got to witness his greatness, like my whole childhood, right? You know, late nights, like NBA on TNT, like ESPN or ABC, you know, whatever. He played the Celtics, especially after they got their big three, right? 3 straight finals, I think that it was him versus Boston, right? Like I grew up watching Kobe Bryant. So his death was wild to me because he's a young dude. He was like in his early 40s, you know, died with his daughter. Like that was a horrible, like that was heartbreaking, right? So that happened. And I remember when that happened, I talked about it at youth group that week. I remember that week I talked at youth group about like how short life is, how important it is to understand the value of a human life. And then that would have been maybe, gosh, I'm going to look it up so I make sure I have my date right. But I think that was right. Yeah, so that was January 26th. Kobe Bryant died on January 26th. And then within the next month, coronavirus hit. So he died, and then I was in Florida for a week at a conference, and then I came back. And then like that next like Tuesday was when coronavirus hit. It was a couple weeks later, but like so a couple weeks passed. I left for a week. I was in Florida, and then I come back, and coronavirus hits. And I kind of feel like everything's been wild since then. And as soon as the world starts to open back up again, right? Like, Coffeeology. Most of you guys probably know I work part-time at Coffeeology, downtown Delaware. Olivia's mom owns it, if you guys know Olivia. Olivia Rideout. But so I'm there. We open back up again, and for customers, right? We were open, like we would do carry out, but we wouldn't do any dine-in. So we went back out again for dine-in. We're really busy. Like it just feels like the world is back to normal. The world's collapse started as soon as Harambe was shot. Hey, it was the anniversary of Harambe's death. Was like very recently. Yeah, May 28th. So like a week ago was the anniversary of Harambe's death. 4-year anniversary, which is wild. 4 years ago. That feels like it was yesterday. Or was that 4 years ago? 2016. I can't believe that was 4 years ago Harambe died. Anyway, so it started to feel like the world was going back to normal. All of a sudden, the video of George Floyd comes out. Right? And I guess even before that, Ahmaud Arbery, right? And the Ahmaud Arbery thing is horrible, right? These dudes like chased down a man in the street. Right? If you haven't watched my video, a few weeks ago I put out a teaching video talking about Ahmaud Arbery, talking about what happened with that situation, kind of a biblical, gospel-centered response to that. I would recommend watching that. I put it out a few weeks ago. But the Ahmaud Arbery thing feels different than the George Floyd thing. Because the Ahmaud Arbery thing was 2 dudes. They're racist. They're horrible. And what happened was awful, right? But it wasn't not elected officials, but it wasn't like state officials. It wasn't police officers. It was bad. It was horrific. It was awful. And it forces us to confront the racist nature that exists in our country. But it wasn't police officers. It was just 2 dudes, and it felt different. It felt awful, but it didn't feel. It was different than George Floyd, right? Then as soon as we're still reeling from what happened to Ahmaud Arbery, the George Floyd thing comes out, and this video comes up of this man being killed by a police officer. You know, cuffed on the ground, unnecessary. You know, it's a horrible video, right? Black dude killed by a white police officer. Horrible, horrible, horrible video. Don't watch it. It's on the internet. I wish I hadn't watched it. So all that happens. And now, Aiden, real quick. Harambe was a gorilla who was shot. A kid fell into the enclosure, which I will always hold is on that kid's parents. Right? Like, when I was a kid, if I went too close to the edge, my mom was like, get back here. Right? Like, obviously, like, kids are going to do kid stuff, but, like, like as a parent, like you can't let your kid fall in. How hard is that? Anyway, the kid fell in, the gorilla like grabbed him, trying to protect him, right? You know, most people who have studied gorillas, most people who like understood like gorilla behavior were like, yeah, the gorilla was just trying to protect the kid. The gorilla was scared, recognized this is a kid, right? Because we similar like, right? Similar like humanoid body construction. So the gorilla's like, oh, this is a kid, and wants to protect him, grabs him, like pulls him behind him. Gavin, you can still post it. You can still post your comment. And the gorilla gets shot, right? The zoo responds by shooting the gorilla to protect the kid. And you can make all kinds of arguments that yes, you know, human life is more important than gorilla life, and I would stand behind that, right? We bear the image of God. So at the end of the day, yes, like a human life is more important than an animal life. But if we can protect the human life while still avoiding the unnecessary killing of animals, I would think that brings more glory to God. Anyway, back to the topic at hand. So the world starts to go back to normal. Marbury happens. George Floyd happens. Breonna Taylor, if you haven't heard that story, it's not gotten as much coverage as George Floyd has because there's no video of it. But the Breonna Taylor story is horrible. Plainclothes police officers entered someone's house at night, did not announce they were police officers, and they were entering the wrong house. They were searching for a subject, entered the wrong house, ended up shooting a woman who was asleep in her own bed. Not even the person they were looking for. They went in the wrong house. Plainclothes, did not announce, like, hey, we're police. Right, so these stories all come out at the same time. And we start, I think, you know, to my knowledge, everyone who at least has commented here, we're all white. I don't know everybody who's watching this right now, but at the very least, people who have been in the comments and myself are white. Which means we don't fully understand what it is like to be a black person in America, right? Because I can't understand something I've never fully experienced, and I've never experienced being black in America. So in this process, all of a sudden we saw a lot of people starting to speak out with a new light on them that we'd never seen before in terms of what it is like to be black in America. And this deep-seated hurt that has existed, I mean, going back to slavery, that was never really addressed. And the amount of subvert racism that dominated a lot of the systems in America, a lot of the way the systems are set up in place in America are deeply racist. And we start to see that. It's being brought to the light, and people are trying to change that. So now we have protests, all 50 states, and when last I checked, 18 countries, making it the largest civil rights protest in the history of the world. Which is insane, right? The largest civil rights protest in the history of the world. And I want to be clear, I talked about this a little bit when I preached the Sunday morning sermon a couple weeks ago, that I get frustrated that this has become politicized. This is a political issue. You know, when people say, oh, well, don't talk about politics. This isn't politics. This is civil rights, and those are different. Right? This is not about voting for a candidate. This is not about not voting for a candidate. This isn't about Trump. This isn't about Biden. This isn't about Bernie Sanders. This isn't about any of that. This is simply about a community of human beings who have felt oppressed, who have felt hurt, who have felt unheard, and finally have the platform they should have had all along to say, hey, we're here and we matter. Right? And it's not a political issue. I don't want to, just for a moment, talk a little bit about the idea that, the idea that standing up for bridging these racial gaps, standing up for somebody who's not like you, is a deeply, deeply biblical idea. I want to go through a couple passages on that. First off, in Ephesians 2, a little background to the church in Ephesus. So whenever the books of the Bible have these weird names in the New Testament, like Ephesians, Galatians, Corinthians, those, right? They are city names. And there are letters that Paul wrote, epistles would be the term, but letters or epistles that Paul wrote to specific churches in specific cities. Now, they were circulated and they were meant to be read by more than just those cities, but specifically they were written to a specific church at a specific time in a specific place. And while we can learn from them, we do have to recognize that it was written to a specific context. And that's very important. Move out of the sun's way a little bit. It's very important for understanding Ephesians, and here's why. All right, we tracking? Hop into Ephesians 2 if you have Bibles with you, if you have it on your phone. I'm going to read it anyway. What's going on in this church is you have all of these Gentiles, which means people who are not Jewish, who are coming to know Jesus. So you have your Gentile believers, and then you have your Jewish believers. And in this society, the Gentiles and the Jews do not get along well. The Roman Empire at this point is oppressing the Jews quite a bit, right? If you study the Jews throughout the Bible, right, they're very commonly oppressed. In Egypt or Assyria or in Babylon or at this point with the Roman Empire or later with Germany, right? The Jewish people have historically been oppressed. So they're under the foot of Rome. The Jews and Gentiles do not get along, right? They don't speak the same language. They do speak the same language, but it's not the same heart language, right? Like for Jews, while most of them would speak Greek simply because they live in that society, they probably would have grown up learning Hebrew. Or Assyrian, or Aramaic, not Assyrian, Aramaic. They would have grown up learning Hebrew or Aramaic as the language they spoke. Jesus himself actually most likely spoke Aramaic. Given like where he grew up and where he's from, like most likely Jesus' first language was Aramaic, which is very similar to Hebrew, but that doesn't matter. So, whereas if you're a Roman citizen, Greek would be your first language. Greek would be your primary language, and then later on Latin, but at this point Greek. So, it's very important to recognize that this is a church where there's a strong divide, and primarily a racial divide, right? Like, you have the Jewish people, and you have the Greek and Roman people, right? There's a racial divide in this church. What does Paul say to this church? Starting in verse 11, Paul says, this is Ephesians chapter 2, starting in verse 11. Paul says, "Therefore remember that at one time you Gentiles in the flesh, called the uncircumcision by what is called the circumcision, which is made in the flesh by hands." Basically, he's saying like, you two were at one point not saved. We can go into that more, but let's kind of leave that there for now. Remember that you were at that time separated from Christ. When you weren't saved, you weren't with Christ, right? You were also separated from Christ, alienated from the commonwealth of Israel, strangers to the covenants of the promise, having no hope and without God in the world. But now in Christ Jesus, you who are far off have been brought near by the blood of Christ. For he himself is our peace, who has made us both one and has broken down in his flesh the dividing wall of hostility. We're going to pause for a second. So what Paul is saying here is he's saying, hey, remember, you weren't always a believer. At one point in time, you didn't have Jesus. At one point in time, you didn't have the hope and peace and love that comes from Jesus. That's what Paul's saying here. So he goes on to say that Jesus made us one. So Jesus made, wow, that is really loud. So Jesus made us one, saying like us as a people one, and then so one with each other and one with him. And how did he do that? He did that by breaking down in his flesh, so in Jesus' flesh, he broke down the dividing wall of hostility by establishing the law of commandments expressed in ordinances, that he might create in himself one new man in place of two, so making peace, and might reconcile us both to God in one body through the cross, thereby killing the hostility. So what Paul is saying here is that ultimately when Jesus came to earth, he was coming to earth to abolish hostility, to reconcile people to God, right? Through his flesh, through his death, he is reconciling us to God. But then also, while maybe not quite as importantly, but still so importantly and so central to everything Jesus is doing, he is reconciling one man to another. He is tearing down the dividing walls of hostility that we love to put up. So when I say things like racial reconciliation, like standing up for our black brothers and sisters is at its core a gospel issue, is at its core an issue that would be deeply concerned with the ministry of Jesus, that's why. Because that's what Paul says. Paul's writing to this church that has a racial divide, and he says, God can't, he said, you weren't a believer. Remember that. At one point in time, you weren't a believer. But God tore down the wall between you and him. And now you need to tear down that wall between you and that guy who doesn't look like you and doesn't talk like you and comes from a different background than you. So central to the ministry of Jesus is this idea of racial reconciliation. And just reconciliation in general, right? Like the ultimate work of Jesus on earth was a work to reconcile, reconciling us to God. And then additionally, reconciling us to one another. So anyone who would argue this idea that it is not central to what we are doing as believers, that it is not our responsibility to help those in need, it is not our responsibility to lift up an oppressed class of people, just lack, I would argue, lack an understanding of Ephesians 2, lack an understanding of what is going on here, lack an understanding of what Paul is saying. I don't say that to be judgmental. I don't say that to be angry. I just say that, I say that to say that, I say that to say that. I said all that to say all this, which is we are called to be peacemakers. We are called to be those who reconcile. And that'll look different for all of us. But I do think it means that we are called to do something. We can't just do nothing. And I'll leave that there. I'll leave that there for now. But just encourage you guys that we can't just sit back. I don't want to look back in 30 years. I mean, sitting down with my kids, right? Maybe we'll say 20 years, because hopefully I'm 30 years from now, I'm kind of old kids. But 20 years from now, if I have a kid who's 15, says, "Hey, Dad, where were you during the protests? Where were you, during the world's largest civil rights movement in history?" I hope my response isn't just, "Well, figured somebody else would do it. Well, I didn't want to talk. I didn't want to talk to people different than me because it's uncomfortable." Or, "Well, I made one post on Instagram. I posted a black square on my profile on Instagram, so I did my part." I'm not saying to do anything specific, right? If that's something you want to talk about more, if you think to yourself like, "Man, like I want to help, I want to be part of the solution instead of part of the problem," shoot me a message. I would love to talk about that. I've done a lot of research and work into this. I spent 3 years at a church before I came to Delaware Grace that was primarily did racial reconciliation work. It was a church that was primarily black, about 60% black, 40% white or so. So not a super majority black, but it was a primarily black church. On the south side of Muncie, Indiana, a more urban church. And while I am not an expert by any means, it is something that I've studied a lot, I've read books on. I literally did for 3 years this hard work of racial reconciliation. It is near and dear to my heart. So if in the midst of all of this, if you're like, maybe you're like, I don't want to march because I don't want to be caught up in a riot, or maybe your parents aren't comfortable with that, or you're like, what are the things besides marching I can do? What are other ways I can, even simple, easy, short, quick ways that I can be part of the solution to helping overcome systemic racism, systemic violence, and all this going on? Let me know. Please talk to me. I care about this a lot, and I would love to have these conversations. But yeah, so I'm going to leave that there. I have other passages that I could hit, but we've spent enough time on Ephesians 2 that I'll leave that there. But I would encourage you to look into this a little bit, and let's have these hard conversations. Let's open ourselves up. I had a buddy text me beginning of last week and said, "Hey, can we talk about this stuff?" I said, "Yeah." He's like, "I know you care about it." He's like, "I know you've read a lot on this." So I reread a whole book before our meeting last week because I wanted to really be prepared for that meeting. We met for 3.5 hours on Saturday morning or Friday morning, and just talked about all of this. I wanted to hear his heart. I wanted to hear what's going on in his mind, and he didn't walk away with any solutions, but simply we just had a conversation. And it ended up being 3.5 hours long, but it was awesome. So I'm not going to hold you up for 3.5 hours, but I would love to have this conversation if you see what's going on in the world and you want to be involved in that, but not just be involved in it for the sake of being involved in it, but be involved in it with a biblical mindset. Let's have that conversation. Whew. I got very thirsty talking just now. And Aiden, yes, we are going to play a game. Gosh, this sun is just slide back a little bit because it's right in my eyes when I sit there. That is way better. Yeah. You doing all right there? You doing all right there? You want to come say hi? Hey, everyone. Look who it is. Oh. They said they hate you. They're all talking about how annoying you are. Anyway, yes, we are going to play a game. All right. We played Hangman the last couple weeks. We're not going to play Hangman again. I need to slide back. The sun just like keeps moving this way. Get out of my eyes. Wow, Sammy, Kevin specifically said that he really thinks you're weird and gross.
Hi, Suzanne.
Whoa! Look at that hornet.
That might be Aiden.
Holy, oh my gosh. That is enormous.
Whoa!
I kind of want to like leave. That thing is
No,
huge.
let's trap it in your water.
No, it'll get angry. Oh gosh. Guys, this hornet is huge.
No, we have to trap it.
Why?
Because it's scary.
We're going inside. Open the door quick. That is the largest hornet I've ever seen in my entire life. I'm running away. Frick. Dang it. All right, well, that was fun. You guys got to see me run away from a hornet. It's dark in here. What's happening? So that was fun. It flew away. It got up as we were like, oh, no, it's on my table. I don't want to go near it. It's so large, though. Not why? And just leave it there till it dies? That's very cruel. All right. Is it a murder hornet? Honestly, if that's not a murder hornet, I don't want to know what a murder hornet looks like. All right. I guess the game for tonight is going to be me. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Drew said nice Star Wars poster. The game for tonight, I guess, is me trying to get close enough to this hornet that you guys can see it. I'm on my laptop, so I'm going to like move a whole laptop around. He's on the side of the table. There's a pot right here. I don't know why, like, there's a pot and a pan down there. I don't know if you can see them. I don't know why they're there. But, all right. Oh, that thing is terrifying. Here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to take a picture of it on my phone, and then I'm going to show you guys. This is horrific. You're not going to be able to really appreciate how unbelievably large this thing is just off a picture. I realize you will not really be able to fully appreciate this murder hornet. Just from this picture. But this is that hornet. This hornet is huge. It's like an inch long, maybe more. Do you think it's more than an inch long?
No, I think an inch sounds about right.
3 inches long? You're right. It's 3 inches long, guys.
It's not.
It is enormous. Drew said name the hornet.
Yeah. Harry.
Drew told me to go near it, and then Gavin said, Drew, no, our youth pastor is going to die, and it's all your fault. Put this here. Is it going to stay? I'm going to stand up now. I don't worry, Kevin. I'm going to die. Harry the Hornet that we're going with.
I like it.
All right, chat. I need suggestions. Harry the Hornet is what I'm leaning toward right now. Is that a Blue Jacket? It looked similar to the shape of the old Blue Jackets mascot when it was actually like a Blue Jacket and not just like a cannon. But I'm currently sitting on Harry the Hornet, but I want some recommendations.
Henrietta. We don't know if it's a guy or girl.
That's true. Whenever we're naming like animals we find in the wild, it's always male names. Like Frank the Possum that I found that one time.
Did you find Frank the Possum?
You ever heard that story when I tried to save a possum's life and I scooped open a cardboard box and drove him to like this animal urgent care place when I was in high school? That's a story for another time. But I did once carry a diseased, run-over possum in the back of my car
Did it die?
when I was like 16 or 17. He did end up dying. I got an email from them like a week later saying he didn't make it. But his name was Frank, and he is my friend. Was my friend. Yeah, he was my friend. And that was like 8 years ago. All right, we got Sting, Prince Harry, Buford, Ferdinand. I do like Buford a lot. Drew, would that be pronounced Baljeet?
That's from Phineas and Ferb.
Why is it always Phineas and Ferb references with you guys? Ferdinand's a good one. Beatrice. Suzanne Robalski says hi. Hi, Suzanne.
I feel like it's probably Aiden.
Well, it is Aiden, but he also didn't say that Suzanne says hi.
Oh, hey Suzanne.
He said my mom, not Suzanne, because Aiden is respectful and doesn't call his mom by her first name.
Attaboy.
Buford. Is Buford also a Phineas and Ferb reference?
Yeah, I think there's a Buford.
See the bully? Because Drew said he's a like.
Yeah.
All right. You know, Buford works because dude's a bully.
Dude is a bully.
He chased me inside. And that was fun. I have a couple like programming pieces that I want to talk about real quick, just so you guys know a few things we have coming up. Can I announce what you guys are trying to do with middle school girls?
Yes.
Middle school girls. So those of you who are in girls who are in middle school, and Josie, you're in a fun spot because you kind of qualify for both. Middle school girls are doing trying to do an ice cream party, right?
Yes.
They're gonna have ice cream.
Social.
Ice cream social. Sometime soon. They'll have information on that soon. Are you guys trying to do it like in the next week or two?
We're trying to do it on Saturday.
Saturday. They're hoping to do it Saturday. They're trying to find a location still, correct?
Probably outside the church.
Probably outside the church. But yeah, the middle school girls are most likely going to do like a social distanced ice cream party outside the church on Saturday. They're still finalizing all of that. Like I said, high school guys are back to meeting in person Wednesday nights. Normally, we would say that like if you're a middle schooler going into high school, you have to wait until the school year starts to join group. But with circumstances how they are, you are welcome to join now, which I already said. But high school guys, 6:30 to 8 at Mingo Park. If you guys, I think you all have my number and/or me on Discord. Message me if you have a Gmail. Message me after this, and I will add you to our Google Hangout because we use. Sam, text my mom, please, when you know. I will, Katie. But yeah, we will. So we're back to meeting. Tuesday night Zoom will still be a thing for now. We will probably just run that all summer, even like when stuff opens back up again, because I don't know why we wouldn't. Like, there's kind of no reason not to, because Tuesday night Zoom games are super fun. And like, why not? Kim Smelter just texted me, who leads our high school girls group, and said high school girls are still doing online, but are good with the ninth graders joining now. So if you are a girl who just finished the end of 8th grade and are going into 9th grade, you are welcome to join High School Girls Life Group. So please shoot me a text about that. Or just let me know now, and I can get you Kim and Joy's contact information. They are every other Wednesday night. I should know this by now. It was every other, and then we talked about doing every during quarantine. I'm going to text Kim. Kim will let me know for sure. But so they're Wednesday nights, first and third. All right, they're the first and third Wednesday nights. So I assume they met this past Wednesday, which means they'll meet in not this Wednesday, but the Wednesday after. Middle school guys are still figuring out what we're going to do. Justin and I were actually talking yesterday about potentially doing a canoeing trip and just having people drive separately and meet there, and we'll also go canoeing together. There's a good chance in the next few weeks we'll try to get the middle school guys and maybe high school guys and maybe other people who want to come to go canoeing. But yeah, so that is all that. Thank you, Josie. She took my suggestion to shoot me a text quite literally, so I appreciate that, Josie. But yeah, so anyway, that's kind of all our programming pieces for right now. We can't do a whole lot more besides that still, with like the church building kind of being out of commission while we're still figuring out what it's going to look like to use that building in accordance with the daycare and also in accordance with state protocol and what we should be doing. So more information on that coming up. But Sunday nights, we'll still be doing this. Tuesday night Zoom games will still be happening. First and third Wednesday nights will be High School Girls Life Group. Thursday nights, every Thursday night at 6:30 at Mingo, will be my life group. Not mine, but like the High School Guys Life Group that Joe and I lead. The only reason we wouldn't happen is thunder and lightning. Rain is fine. We have a whole shelter house. But if it's like thunder and lightning, we won't meet because I don't want to get zapped. But anyway, and then Saturday, middle school girls, ice cream social, assuming that still, like, it's, I don't want to say for sure, but we'll let you guys know in the next couple of days.
Yes, there will be an email.
There will be an email, and I will text people also to let you guys know. So we're kind of getting back to normal a little bit. And the one other programming piece of that is I'm still figuring out exactly what this is going to look like, but I'm thinking Wednesdays, but Wednesday is not for sure yet. We're going to do a Zoom session that'll eventually go in person once in-person things open back up again. That'll be specifically for talking about like the hard questions or just general like scripture things, theology things, like questions, whatever happens that you guys have. So I know like a couple weeks ago, Katie asked a question in here, and I ended up talking about it for like 10 minutes. I was like, man, like why don't we do this more? So I don't know exactly what it's going to look like yet. But we're going to basically do like, an hour and a half. I'm just like, hey, like send in questions about the scriptures or God or theology or philosophy, any of that. And like, I'm not going to come and just like give you guys answers. We're going to discuss that and kind of try to learn together. Most likely going to be Wednesdays, but I'm still finalizing when that'll be. And the final thing is I'm leading a study, not just for youth. It's actually more for adults, but youth are also super invited through this book. It's called White Awake. It's basically about being white, understanding. It's called White Awake, an honest look at what it means to be white. It's written by this pastor named Daniel Hill. It's a phenomenal book on understanding race, our relation to race, and all of that. It's one of my favorite books. It's the book that I reread this week, or most of, before meeting with a buddy of mine. It's just an incredible book. I'm going to be leading a study through that. It's open to like really anybody in Delaware, but I want to let you guys know because you're more than welcome to join. It's a phenomenal book, and that'll be Sunday afternoons. It'll be 10 weeks because it's 10 chapters, 1 week for each chapter. And more information forthcoming. Zapped. So I love you guys. I will see most of you Tuesday night. You better all be there Tuesday night. Tuesday night games are super fun. And then a lot of you I'll probably see in different places, hopefully in the next couple of weeks. I will for sure, as long as Ice Cream Social happens, I will at least swing by and say hi for sure. Kind of whenever we have students meeting in person, I will try to at least be there to say hi. I will check my Discord after this. Josie, I told you guys the game was me chasing down that hornet. It's the game tonight. That I chased down a hornet. Kevin told me to check my Discord after this. I'm in my Discord, right?
You didn't chase anything.
I kind of went out there. Kevin, I see your messages, and I will respond. Josie, it's not the same. Listen, Josie, it's close enough. We're already, like, kind of where we're normally in, 7:45. So we're going to hold that there. Josie, if you're mad at me for us not playing a game, come Tuesday night. That's my plug for Tuesday night Zoom games. So I love you guys. That was a very interactive game. Neither is Hangman. Just you guys just type letters in the chat. It's fine. Everything's fine. Drew says no. So I love you guys. Have a great night. Don't be mad at me. We'll play an actual game next week. You guys got to see me chase a hornet. I almost died. For all of you. Shame. So anyway, Aiden, yes, I will text you back in a moment, Aiden. I'll leave prayer real quick, and then we're all going to go our separate ways. Dear Lord, I thank you for this time. I thank you for opportunities to discuss hard issues. God, I thank you just for everything going on in our world, and I just ask that this can be an opportunity for the gospel to shine brightly, Lord, and for us to be an example to those around us of what it means to both follow God but also love others, Lord. I thank you for this evening, and in your holy name, amen. That is a little definition of interactive. Listen, it's fine. Next week, we're going to not play Hangman. Take a couple weeks off Hangman because we did too much Hangman. Have a better game next week. I will see you all later.